Self-Care September, raising your EQ. I have many times people and patients asking me, what exactly is emotional intelligence? Why is high EQ a valuable attribute? Are there things we can do to raise our emotional intelligence? Today, let's explore, what are these concepts? Let's have answers to our questions and understand a little bit more IQ and EQ, the differences, and how we can work on trying to be better, higher versions of ourselves. Emotional intelligence many times is misinterpreted, misunderstood, and many times we don't recognize why it's important in life. It is a trait that many people sought to become great leaders or better in relationships. But emotional intelligence is more than an attribute that helps us get ahead in life. It's also a strong predictor of your quality of life, health, coping skills, and how you relate to one another in relationships. Let's look at defining it first. Let's begin with our exploration of EQ by first understanding its counterpart, IQ. IQ is intelligence quotient, and it's defined as a measurement of our knowledge of the outer world, how it works, and how we reason with the world and solve outer world problems. Now let's take the same definition and apply it to our inner world, and then you'll have an understanding of EQ. In short, emotional quotient, EQ, is a measure of how well we know and understand our inner selves, our feelings, what makes us tick, and how well we comprehend and interact with others. EQ is all about the degree to which we understand, relate to, and act with compassion for ourselves and others. In other words, IQ is what we know and understand and how well we navigate the world around us. And EQ is what we know and understand and how well we navigate the world within us, our emotional lives. High EQ individuals are very self-aware and in touch with their feelings. Since they know oftentimes what makes them angry, upset, fearful, triggered, and then they're not at the mercy of their negative emotions as easily. They are good at regulating their emotions, implementing healthy coping skills, and can move through life confidently and believing in themselves and how they conduct themselves, knowing that they conduct themselves well, without losing control. They respond versus react. They are able to tune into people and their environment, shift and change by having empathy for others that are around them, and treat people with respect and kindness versus personalizing people's low self-esteem and pain, which oftentimes can spill over onto us. Many times people with high EQs have valuable social skills of adapting, blending in, mingling, and can minimize conflict by not internalizing and reacting all the time, but more taking a pause and reflect, stepping back from conflict, exploring what's going on, and responding instead. High EQ individuals excel at maintaining strong relationships and often make good choices not only for themselves and others. Like IQ, EQ is a part of our maturation process. As we mature and know more about our outer world, our inner world is important to understand too. Our self-awareness, our emotional self, all of this develops over time, matures. We learn from one another, but we also learn from ourselves as we evolve through life. Life is a series of experiences, positives and negatives, but it is important for us to recognize from a young age, as we grow, we enter different stages of maturation. Some that are based on black and white thinking and rules that many times our parents give us, and then as we're evolving and growing, we start adding in factors of learning from others beyond our family of origin, from learning from teachers, environment, cultures, church systems, friends, mentors, peers, teachers, and coaches. But then at one point, we go even beyond that to bring in an inner moral compass, understanding that many times things are not black and white, and that Many times people act from a place of pain and suffering, react from a place of lack of compassion. As we mature in our development, we start getting to a place of understanding people by having more compassion for ourselves and others. There are many experiments in psychology that show us the different stages of development. And Lawrence Kohlberg was one of these psychologists, had done a beautiful experiment on the various stages of development. As we look at children growing, we go from black and white thinking to learning a little bit more about consequences. And sometimes we stay in doing actions and reactions that prevent consequences. But at some point of our maturation, we also bring in compassion to understand what is the intention of people's behaviors. Many times in life, emotional IQ is about understanding the intention behind why somebody does what they do. Whether they're lying, they're hurting you, they're being defensive, they're being demanding. Many times, we have to look at the intention behind someone's actions versus looking at a behavior and judging it. Sometimes, people in fear and low self-esteem can come across hard, can come across, dominant, can come across very controlling, like black and white, because they are afraid of losing control, because they are afraid of being in a place of vulnerability. And so many times it's important for us to recognize that our maturation emotionally is about understanding people's intentions and acting out of compassion for ourselves so that we don't personalize things, but also for others who may be acting in a way that doesn't make sense to us. A shocking reality is we assume that all adults reach different stages of development like we do, and the truth is many people don't. Many people remain questioning, rule following, black and white thinking, or role model whatever their parents have gone through. It is important for us to question poor role modeling in our homes where maybe our parents were anxious, very black and white in their thinking patterns, and lacked compassion, which maybe we have learned ourselves as a way to protect ourselves. We don't need to protect ourselves. We need to learn more compassion and believing in our skill set to be higher, better versions of ourselves. Many people live fear-based lives, in self-doubt, and that hinders your personal growth and limits your understanding, acceptance, and interactions with others. Then we start leading our life driven by behaviors that are not adaptive, but then also bring in unhealthy habits of reinforcing anxiety, depression, poor coping skills, or living with unhealthy behaviors like overindulging in alcohol and drugs, overworking, or doing other behaviors that negatively impact our health and quality of life. It is important for you to start exploring, do I believe in myself? Are my intentions good? And even if somebody misinterprets me, can I realize that my intention was good and didn't mean to cause harm, but maybe I'm replaying modeled behaviors or patterns I've learned that are not healthy for me? Each and every one of us need to pause and reflect and look at our emotional states. Do I understand me? Do I trust me? The more you trust yourself and understand you, it gives you the awareness to be able to understand others and trust others. People's intentions many times are good, but their behaviors can come across rubbing us the wrong way. It is important for you to raise your IEQ because it's important for you to have a better quality of life. A greater self-awareness leads to an increased ability to empathize with others and relate to people authentically. As you relate authentically to others because you're understanding you, you create a greater social skill and you also create a better connectedness with others. This allows you to be in your highest and best, interacting with confidence in the moment with not only compassion, but strength in knowing that each and every moment you can handle whatever shows up. Life only brings you what you can handle. Let's take a moment now to exploring raising your EQ and understanding in the moment that there is no better place than here and now to go inwards. Give yourself credit for how far you've come, who you've become, all the skills that you have in place to deal with emotions, but also recognize and humble yourself. We're all perfect and a work in progress. Take a moment right now and reflect on EQ, how you treat yourself, who you are, and who you'd like to be, and how to be better in your levels of EQ. Take a deep breath in and breathe out. Another deep breath in and breathe out. And allow yourself to have a mindful moment right now, exploring your level of EQ and exercising awareness of what areas you need to work on to be more emotionally connected, not only to yourself, but others, with compassion, kindness. Let's take a deep inhale in and breathe out. Allow yourself in this moment to relax and just think about emotional awareness, compassion, forgiveness, connectedness. As I gently bring you back, there are 3 steps to raising your EQ. Get to know you. When you understand your emotions, you become emotionally intelligent. You will soon find yourself better at handling any emotional curveball that comes your way. Build empathy for others. The better you get to know yourself, the better you'll be able to understand and show compassion for others. And think before you act or react. Armed with self-awareness and compassion for others, you'll soon find yourself considering both your emotions and the feelings of others before taking action, even in difficult situations. Recognizing people show you who they are, not who you are many times. But pause and reflect to look at your EQ. Am I as emotionally connected to me to know my intentions, to be solid in my skill set, and to trust that people may have the right intention, but their behaviors might show me something that I'm misinterpreting? Let's all emotionally connect a little further, enhance our EQ, and live higher, better versions of ourselves.